Okay, so we'll start the session now. It's been a couple of minutes we had joined. So, yeah. So good evening, everyone. Today we are at the fourth day of our interactive and fun event of STEP 2022. And I hope you all had benefited from the previous sessions which were conducted past days. So I officially welcome all the participants to this session. So let's together step up into more fun and interaction. And today I feel extremely privileged and honored to be given this opportunity to welcome Mr. Ayush from DIY Guru. Uh, yeah, so I wholeheartedly welcome you for the session, the market spectra and opportunities in electrical vehicle market. We are honored to have you here. Over to you, sir.
Hi, so thank you for allowing me to join the session. And as I said, that originally we were expecting Avinash sir to continue with the session, but I think he's in a meeting right now, but that's no problem. I am the VP of DIY Guru, and with me is the technical head, Amesa, and we too will be conducting this session for you. So I believe it would be a very interactive and like a session where we would discuss and talk on mutual basis. So it would be a nice discussion with all of you. As I just need few questions from your side, like want to ask few questions from my side, uh, just to understand what is the audience right now, whom am I talking to? Are you all graduates or still studying? Which year? And how you are linked with IEEE, or what IEEE is currently planning at your campus or at your vicinity in the domain of EV, so that I can really understand. So maybe any one of you can introduce the IEEE Kerala section, specifically what you guys are doing, and how do you see the electric vehicle, and specifically how do you see the DIY Guru and your potential collaboration in this domain?
Yeah. So basically, all the participants present over here are final year engineering students. So this program is actually a guiding light for the final years to step up into a professional career. So yeah, that's all about this audience, and mostly we are having parallel sessions today. So whoever is interested in the electric vehicle section and whoever is coming under the EEE department and whoever interested in those areas will be joining the session today. So yeah, that's all about the participants joined. Am I audible or?
Yes, yes, sorry, I was on mute. Okay,
Okay.
so great. Okay, so can someone from here share his or her experience with EV before? If you guys had any experience before, or any project, or any classroom session, or any course you have done with EV, which you want to share with us, and your views about this ongoing revolution in the hybrid and EV technology, or should I directly start with my presentation? Because I just want this session to be interactive so that we are not many people in this session. It's nice. I always like sessions where we have limited number of people, because then I get the opportunity to know everyone in personal, and I think we can interact better like this. So if any one of you would like to share some of your experience with EV before, it would be great. Otherwise, I always have a presentation ready with me to discuss, and I can start with that. Okay, so I think I can directly start. Just give me a minute to present my screen. Okay, guys, so my screen is visible to everyone, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, great. So this is a presentation which I always keep prepared with me, because this is very common to discuss the domain of electric vehicle with students, with professionals. So it's always good to have something always ready. And this presentation is something which is very close to me because this is what we developed as a part of as a part of our intention, as a part of our mindset. What do we understand about the EV? What do we understand about the ongoing revolution? And how the role of DIY Guru is basically, and what DIY Guru is planning to do with students like you and with organizations like IEEE. I've been a part of IEEE myself, but not in the electric vehicle domain, in the robotics when I was doing my bachelor's. It was about in the year of 2015. So I very well know IEEE, and I'm very sure that IEEE is always active with these activities, not only in terms of courses and technical stuff, but also in terms of conferences and research paper. So whatever collaboration we could have with DIY group, we will try to make it as much research oriented as possible so that we can say, okay, IEEE Kerala section has published so many papers with DIY group in the domain of EV in near future. So as I said, when we talk about EV, electric vehicle, we also talk about the hybrid because the transition cannot be very sudden. If you are aware of the basic electronics, we go from zero to one level, right? But that is not the practical scenario. Practically, we move like a Gaussian wave from zero to halfway and then from halfway to high. In the same way, the Indian market specifically cannot move directly from petroleum based to direct EV. We have to make a transition step in between, and that is where the hybrid model comes. So whenever we talk about EV, we need to talk about the hybrid also, because that is how the Indian market will transform from petroleum or conventional vehicles to hybrid, and then from hybrid to the electric vehicle. And this is basically an inevitable revolution. By inevitable, I mean that this is something which is not in our hands. We cannot come and say that I do not want to work with EV, I want to work with conventional engines, because this is not something we can control. The whole world is moving towards the electric vehicle, and we have to accept the fact that we need to adapt to the ever growing demand of the non conventional vehicles. The Avagro in specific is approved by Digital India Foundation, NEAT, AICT, and ASDC Government of India. Some of you might be aware of it. And this is more like a proud moment for me because we are the only organization who have these many government approved validations and affiliations. So all the trainings and the certificates which you get from DIY Guru, or all the associations which you get from DIY Guru, are all approved by the government of India. So it's not just important if you want to have a job in EV, but also if you want to go into the automotive sector outside India, mainly in Europe market, because that's where most of the mechatronic works in the world. There also the recognition of this government validated learnings are important. It's also just a slide to show in which different organization and levels we have been working on, just to show what the Avagro is all about. And why DIY is something not important for you as of now. I want you to focus exactly why electric vehicles, because until unless you guys are convinced with the fact that we want to go into the hybrid and the EV based market, it makes no use to bring out DIY for you guys. So the most important question here is why EV, why hybrid, and why not conventional engines. So I'll just share some basic facts which I have collected from the Google search, from some of the technical art articles or research papers, and you can do it by yourself as well. Just few facts, for instance, according to the University of Birmingham, it's a well-known university in UK. It says that by 2030, in 15 years, the demand of lithium and cobalt will increase by an average of 20 to 25 times. And this shows that if there is an increase in battery parts by 20 times, means the battery market should also expand in a linear fashion. So this is something very important for India, because in India, I do not think we'll only be focusing on the development of EV models like Tesla. Rather, we will also be in the domain of maintenance, repair, service, and specifically in the battery market, because the battery market of India seems to be in a very nice situation. The small and medium enterprise, the SMEs, the SMEs can play a good role in this battery development part. So I think the battery management and the development part is something which is very good for India in terms of manufacturing units. And also more than $100 billion of investment is going to be there. Is already been done since the start of 2020. In fact, 2020 is one of the worst year we have seen ever because of the pandemic. But even then, the electric car industry has seen more than $100 billion of investment. And this shows that even in pandemic situation, if a domain is ever rising, so you can anticipate and kind of introspect yourself how much it will grow in future. In the next 4 years, the new cars in China and Germany. Why we are talking about China and Germany? Because these are the main players of EV right now, of course, including US. And 40% of the cars would be either hybrid or EV based. And this is something very common also because if you are planning to buy a car in let's say 5 years, it could be very possible that you'll be getting an EV or an hybrid car. If not, I think you should rethink on your plans because just getting a conventional petroleum model is something not a very good solution now. Specifically, what we have been seeing in this unfortunate Russia-Ukraine situation, anything happens around the globe, and the coal prices, the petroleum prices, seems to vary and jump a lot, and everyone is scared, everyone is disturbed of these fluctuations. And the EV market will basically bring this stability and will bring this level of certainty in the automobile industry. And this is something which the industrialists really want. They want something more certain, more stable, and something they could rely on for the next many decades. And for us as students, this is a very good news because then we are sure that the technology is shifting towards a more definite domain. If I take the example of CSIT, we all know that automation is going to take a number of IT jobs which were previously done manually, right? So we all know that in terms of CSIT, the data analysis and data science AI is the new trend. No longer new, but is the current trend. And the world is moving towards technology, and that is why you're seeing every second student is kind of doing into analysis stuff now. In the same way, in the automobile industry, this change is something which is very obvious, which is going on. And this is good news for us as students because now we know that if we want to go into the mechanical or the automobile domain, we have to go into the EV path. Otherwise, there is no future for us. In fact, CEO of electric bus company, it's another Switch Mobility, a UK-based company come startup, and the CEO says that this change is so seismic and so large that if we don't pivot fast enough, we are unlikely to survive into the future. So if you're planning to go into the automobile sector and you haven't planned to go into the EV, apparently you haven't planned anything because that's the only future we see in the near time. Another few set of examples, if you can see that if you go to the last year September Munich Motor Show, there was not even a single petrol vehicle which was launched by any of the involved companies. And in fact, all of the industry, whether we talk about the Bosch, Hyundai, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, all of them have completely transformed their model from conventional to EV or hybrid based. And they are not at all interested to launch any car which is purely conventional petroleum based. And this is just the beginning. This is something EV has not just started playing its role in India, and already we are looking at such a level of change. So just imagine in the next 5 to 6 years, when EV would be at your doorsteps, then what would be the requirement from the industries? What would be the requirement from the institute level? It is very possible that in next few days, the colleges of Kerala would be having a bachelor's in electric vehicle technology, or not bachelor, but at least master's and PhD projects in this domain. And this shows how the academia is also shifting its interest that once we used to work on the automobile industry of conventional petroleum vehicles, but now the industries and both academics are moving towards the avian hybrid solutions. And one of the factor is that not even the industries, but also the government is slightly trying to persuade the industries to make EV-based models. For instance, in China, they are already bringing out a rule where they'll be putting more taxes and more penalties to those car manufacturers who will be generating non-EV models. And this is something India is also going to bring very soon, that they'll be having more relaxation for those industries who will be generating EV-based models. So they'll be paying lesser taxes and will be having more leniency from the government. And all these measures shows that not only the not only the industries but also the government is kind of encouraging everyone to switch its platform from the non-EV to the EV domain. Whether you talk about CO2 emission, or you talk about better batteries, or you talk about better sustainability, more certainty, in any case, in any scenario, EV is surpassing, and in some states and some countries had already surpassed the conventional models. And it's a very valid question that why EV? Why? I mean, this is something we all of know by now, but just to quantify why exactly everyone is trying to move into EV, one is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Every industry, every company, whether we talk about robotics or hardware or manufacturing, they have to follow and go as per the UN Sustainable Development Goals and their ideas. And it strictly says that we need to minimize the level of CO2 emission as much as possible. And EV or hybrid model based vehicles is really supporting this idea. We'll be less dependent on fuels, less dependent on petroleum, and this will make our lives easier. All of us have been paying so much money in the petroleum that we can simply anticipate that if we get the EV technology in Indian market, none of us would be buying the petroleum based models. And one more thing is very important, the batteries. The battery development in around the globe, including India, is very nice. Right now, the battery manufacturers are providing us either 8 year or more than 100,000 mile warranties, which is something very, very good. So it is no longer the situation that you get a battery for the EV car and it is not reliable. It's not the case. The batteries have become reliable enough that they are ready to surpass and make the change and remove the petroleum necessity. And gradually, soon we'll be having more infrastructures regarding the charging stations, and then we have more and more innovations. And soon you are realizing that now EV is no longer a topic of research, but rather a topic of commercialization and a topic of our day-to-day life. This is something we even tried the driverless car. Many companies did invest billions, trillions of dollars to make a driverless car into a reality. But unfortunately, the Indian roads were not good enough. But the EV thing is something which the government has already accepted. And that's one of the perfect news we can have as students who are willing to go into the automobile domain. Then I will not go into much detail what the Indian market is doing, but the Indian market is more into the two-wheelers right now. Even if you consider the Ola vehicles which they are launching or the e-rickshaws, we are not directly jumping into the four-vehicle model because many of our consumers are using the two-wheelers. So that is how the Indian market will shift, and that's as I said, we'll be first shifting towards the hybrid model and then towards the EV one. According to our Indian Energy Storage Alliance report, there will be a CAGR of 36% till 2026. CAGR is basically compound annual growth rate. So more than 35% of growth rate we'll be observing over the next 5 years. And then this is going to increase by twice or thrice and so on. And one of the most important question why we are here, why DIY Guru is here, why IEEE Kerala section have decided to have EV into one of the section is to basically provide you the platform for the industrial trainings and to give you the institutional connect and hands-on workshops to provide you the placement oriented program because in the end as students we all need placement, right? Okay, we know EV is good and stuff like this, but in the end what is the scope of jobs? Is there really a job market in India in the EV domain or not? This is the question. And we need a helping hand right now, to be honest. We need someone who can really connect us with the EV market because the academics and the institutions are not ready yet. They only have connections with either the electrical or mechanical companies, but not the EV market. So we need someone who can provide us this institutional and an industrial connect for the placement oriented programs and can help us with the research consultancy because since you guys are belonging to IEEE, I'm sure research part is something which is very much infused and inbuilt in you guys, right? So this research consultancy is something which is very crucial. let's say one of you come to me and say, sir, I want to go to masters to Germany, and this I want to do into the domain of EV. Now, how do you want to tune and optimize your profile so that you go into the masters into the EV specialization? This could be one of the applications of research consultancy. And other than this, the papers and patents will always be a good point. And then in the end, providing the EV solutions. I'm sorry that I've written the Bangladesh market, because last time I did pitch this presentation to the users of Bangladesh, because not only in India, the people outside India are planning to make this transition. So that's why there's this Bangladesh market written in this slide. And that is why we are having this session, guys, to create the technical awareness, to understand you guys, and to realize the need to adapt, realization of an ideal learning ecosystem, an ecosystem where you don't just work and learn the EV, but also work with the EV, where you don't just understand how retrofitting works, but also performs the retrofitting and stuff like this. And that is why I'm here. That is why Amber is here, and why IEEE Kerala Section has brought up this EV. So that was all from my side. I just wanted to explain you how the EV is revolving around the country and the globe. I could just request now Ame to take a few minutes and explain what DIY Group is exactly doing into this EV domain. Uh, I don't think he needs a presentation or something for this, but Ame sir, if you're available right now, maybe you can share some views from your side.
Yes. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you. Uh, so we are here. Let me, Ayush, if I can just check if I can share my screen. Uh, Ayush, is my screen visible?
No.
Can you try again? I just gave you the presenter access now.
Okay. Okay. Now.
No.
Okay. Just a second. Is my screen visible now? No.
No.
So maybe what you can do, sir, is you can forward your presentation to Meghna, who's the host, and she can present it from her side, I guess.
Yeah, that will work. Now your screen is visible.
Let me just out the presentation. My
Yeah, we are able to see the presentation.
Okay, I think, are you able to see something written as hybrid electric vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is Amay Marathe. I am the technical head for EV Nano Degree program of DIY Guru. And just taking the thread from what Ayush has said, that the transition to electric vehicle is going to be in steps. So there are some players definitely, who are going to switch from the IC engine based to the electric vehicle domain directly, but there are some players, who are going to shift to hybrid electric vehicles first before transitioning directly into the electric vehicle. So if I think, is my next slide visible?
Yes, we are able to see.
Okay, great. Now, if there is anyone in the meeting who is able to tell me what are these numbers, or can just identify the components which are there in these numbers. Now, this is a conventional, vehicle drivetrain layout. So, if you can just tell me, someone can tell me what is that number one? Okay. So, let me tell you, this is a conventional IC engine based, drivetrain layout. So we have engine, which is there at number one. We have gearbox and clutch, which you are able to see at number two. We have the propeller shaft of the drive line, which is number three. We have UV joints as number four and five. So typically three, four, five, and six. That is how your power flows from engine to the rear axle. Then we have differential, which is number seven. We have half shafts, which is number eight, and ultimately number nine is wheels and tires. So typically, if you see the power flow in the vehicle in the conventional drivetrain, it happens in this particular way. So this is for the conventional IC engine based, topology. Now, if we shift to the hybrid electric vehicle, which is the next step, in the automobile industry, I hope you are able to see the components, which are there in hybrid electric vehicle. So typically, more or less, the power flow is going to remain the same. Instead, what is going to happen is, instead of your conventional IC engine, we are going to have so many electronic components. So I'm sure many of you are from, or if I'm not wrong, majority of the students are from electronics or EXTC background. Yes, no, maybe.
Mostly they are from electrical background.
Okay, so maybe the electrical guys will come into picture here. Now, you see, as soon as the transition starts, are you able to identify some of the power electronic components? So we have converters, inverters, along with an IC engine. So hybrid, typically, it is going to have two power sources, okay, out of which one is going to be a conventional IC engine, the other one is going to be the electric motor, and that is where the electrical guys will come into picture. Now we will also have two batteries. One is going to be the conventional 12-volt battery, and the other one is going to be the traction battery. So even if you see in the diagram, you will be able to see the electric traction motor, traction battery. We will still have the fuel tank, the fuel filter. So it's going to be the best of both the hybrid electric. Uh, uh, I hope everyone is able to understand what I am putting here. Meghna, if you can just confirm me.
Yes, yes, Amay. We are able to understand.
Okay. So if you see along with this, so as I said, hybrid electric vehicle is going to be the best of both the worlds. Now, let us ask the reason why. Okay. Now, if you ask the reason why, so if you see the transition from the conventional IC engine vehicles to the electric vehicle is going to be something like this. So this is the step, which we are going to take one at a time as an industry, and that is how we are going to transition from the present state of art IC engine technology to, if you see at the very right end or at the very top, you will see that there is a fuel cell electric vehicle. So ultimately, in India, if you talk about Indian scenario, ultimately we are going to end up with, a lot of fuel cell electric vehicles in the future. Very recently, I'm sure you all must have seen that our road and transport minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari ji, had arrived in parliament using Toyota Mirai. Now, can someone tell me what type of vehicle Toyota Mirai is? Anyone? Okay, so
It's a
maybe
fuel car.
yeah, it's a fuel cell electric vehicle. The other end which you see in green. So it's a Toyota Mirai is a fuel cell electric. So what has happened, in between this. So what now, if you all understand that the fuel emission norms are getting stricter as we are moving every year. So if you see, as India, what we have done is we are going to shift from BS4 to BS6 directly. So Bharat stage 4 to Bharat stage 6. Now, when you talk about, transitioning from BS4 to BS6, we are not taking, BS5. It means we are going to, stricter the emission norms. That means the amount of CO2, the amount of carbon monoxide, the amount of hydrocarbons, the amount of nitrogen oxide is whatever has been emitted from the IC engine, it has to be very, very low. Okay, now that is what, if you see the very bottom of it, you see we are trying to increase the thermal efficiency of an IC engine. So, we want, so people are doing everything. I think, majority of the automobile companies have done everything to improve this, the engine thermal efficiency, of the existing engines which are used in the vehicle. Now, next, I'm sure how many of you have seen vehicles where, micro hybrid is written on the back of it? Can someone tell me any one vehicle where you have seen micro hybrid or, something like this written at the back of the vehicle? Can anyone name me one car or smart hybrids? So maybe if you have seen, Maruti vehicles, or if you have seen Mahindra and Mahindra, at the back of it, you will see that they have written something which is called as micro hybrid. So typically, that micro hybrid is nothing but vehicles with, engine start-stop technology. So typically, what we are going to do is, or typically what we are doing is, we are slowly moving from the mechanical components to the electrical components. And that is what, in mechanical terms or in automobile industry, we call it as X by wire technology. Now, when I say X by wire, you can simply replace X by, steer by wire, you can replace X by brake by wire, you can replace X by suspension by wire. So typically what we are going to do is we are slowly, changing the components which are pure mechanical. We are slowly incorporating sensors and actuators, and we are talking to the ECU. The number of ECUs in the vehicles have gone beyond 100, and slowly we are transitioning from pure mechanical components to pure electrical components. And that is how the transition has slowly started to happen. But you all will understand that no company can directly jump from something. So I'm sure you must have heard about the models getting upgraded. Have you heard about the facelift versions? And for the vehicle, have you heard about the new models of the same vehicle coming into the market? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Right. So if you see these technical specifications of those models, you will understand that a little change has been done to their, the exterior. Maybe they will change the front grille, but the overall dimension of the vehicle might remain, similar, but what they will do is the components, which are there. If you see the specifications of those vehicles, so slowly they will introduce this, integrated starter generator. Now, I'm sure many of the vehicles, if you see today, they don't have, yeah, the ignition which is taking place with the help of keys. Earlier we had keys, so we used to rotate the keys and we used to start the vehicle. But nowadays, majority of the vehicles, you will see that there is a start stop button. So that is how we are transitioning. And then we have something which is called as energy regeneration. So the typical, whenever you brake the vehicle, okay, a lot of energy is converted into heat. Now we want to use that energy back to, or convert that energy back into electricity and store it inside the battery. So energy regeneration. Then if you see, the existing batteries which we are using are 12-volt batteries. So the next step is going to be 12-volt mild hybrid. Then slowly we are going to transition from 12-volt to 48-volt technology, and then slowly we will go beyond 60 volts, and that is where we will come to something which is called as full hybrids. And then this full hybrids. Now let me ask you a question. In last week, we have heard that Honda City has launched a hybrid vehicle. How many of you have heard about it? Uh, I'm sure you must have read it somewhere. Very typical version of Honda City. So what they have done? What type of hybrid is that Honda City? Anyone from the audience? If you are an automobile enthusiast, I'm sure you are keeping track of. No, uh, if I'm not wrong, Meghna, I'm sure I'm not boring the
Yeah.
students. I hope you are finding it interesting.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah, it's city sedan, right?
Correct. So if you see the Honda City, which was a pure, IC engine vehicle earlier, now they have launched an electric hybrid, model of it. So typically it is a full hybrid. Okay, it is not a plug-in hybrid. So the vehicle is able to charge itself, while it is running.
So sorry to interrupt you in between for a second, sir. Actually, I have another meeting right now, so I'll take your leave now. If you face
Okay,
any
sure,
issues, you can just give me a shout. Okay.
sure.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you for joining, Ayush.
Right. So if you see, that particular model is a self-charging hybrid. If you see the specifications of that model, it is a self-charging hybrid. It means that we no longer require the vehicle to charge from the grid, or we don't have to plug the vehicle into the grid, or we don't require any external charging support to the vehicle. Whatever battery pack is there inside the vehicle is able to charge the battery pack on its own. So, that is what typically, what we call it as a full hybrid. And then we have, plug-in hybrids, where we are going to take the charge from the grid and we are going to charge the vehicle. Again, it is a hybrid, but the only difference here is the battery cannot charge itself. Okay, we have to take power from the grid. And then, we have something which is called as an electric vehicle. So as we all know, that electric vehicle is nothing but a battery electric vehicle, where the entire IC engine is now replaced by a battery, which is typically a lithium ion battery, a chemistry out of the lithium ion. And we are going to have a motors, and it is going to work on it. But uh, as we all know, that as the lithium deposits uh, are not sufficient, the price of nickel is going up. So typically, when we talk from the Indian viewpoint, we will typically go towards fuel cell electric vehicles. Okay, so that is all about this slide. I'm sure that is how you will understand that the importance of electrical and electronics people in the automobile domain is going to go up. As the time is going to progress, you all will be required in the automobile industry. Why? Because we are moving from the conventional mechanical components to the electric. Now, if you're able to see this slide, now, if you see, Now, how we are going to do this? So typically, we will set the target of say 2020, 2025, and beyond that. So if you see right at the bottom, if there is a small car, which is a gasoline manual transmission vehicle, the best thing what it can do by 2025 is it will be converted to a CNG vehicle. Okay, it is going to be converted to a CNG vehicle, and then maybe beyond that, it is going to have a CNG. So if you see majority of the small vehicles like Wagoner, and all that, they are coming with CNG model. So typically that is what is going to happen. Then if we have hatchbacks, if you see the third from the bottom, so those hatchbacks are going to convert into mild hybrid. Okay, and then maybe beyond 2025, those are going to be converted to full hybrid or plug-in hybrid. Okay, then if we have a premium category vehicle, which is a hybrid or a hybrid vehicle with an automatic transmission, that is going to be converted to a plug-in hybrid, and ultimately it is going to, get converted into a fuel cell electric. So, that is how the transition is going to happen. Now, Meghna, I am sure I have 5 more minutes for this session. Yes, maybe.
I think the rest of the time is for the audience to ask the question. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So maybe just five more minutes. So the total duration of this session is 1 hour. I'm not wrong.
It was half an hour, like till 8:05,
Okay.
8:10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry. So
Oh, no
before I
problem.
wind up, yeah. So before I wind up, let me just leave you with this definition. So
Okay.
if
Yeah,
you ask
sure.
me, what is an hybrid electric vehicle? So you have seen the background, how we are going to transition, what is going to happen. So let me ask you, what is an hybrid electric vehicle? So typically HEV stands for hybrid electric vehicle, and it is nothing but it is a vehicle which consists of multiple sources of propulsion. And EV typically is an electric vehicle, which you will use either a battery or an ultra capacitor or a flywheel, and it will have the electric. A fuel cell vehicle is a series hybrid. Now, if you see the hybrids are categorized in two major categories. They are series hybrid and parallel hybrid. Okay. And typically, series hybrids are used in heavy vehicles, and whatever hybrids you see on road, in passenger category or in passenger segments, those are parallel. Okay. And a traditional vehicle, as we all know, is powered by IC engine, and the energy source can be either gas, natural gas, battery, ultra capacitor, flywheel, or solar power. Okay. Now, can someone tell me, what is the difference between why don't we call a CNG vehicle as a hybrid? I hope you're getting my question. So we have a vehicle who is fitted with a CNG kit, and it is having also an IC engine. So IC engine vehicle along with a CNG. Why don't we call it as a hybrid, or do we call it as a hybrid? Okay, maybe I'm open to questions. So maybe I will stop my presentation here. I'm sure I was able to give you a glimpse into the world of this hybrid and where you guys will come into picture. So now I'm open to questions. Maybe if someone has any questions, please do ask.
Yeah, sure. Actually, we got few questions when the participants had registered for the session. So one of the
Sure.
question was, how was the electric vehicle field can be chosen as the career for recent graduates? Like, is there many opportunities that they can look upon to?
Yes, yes. As I said, so I'm sure by now you all might have got a glimpse of where you guys are going to come into picture, because we will require a lot of you guys to design converters and inverters and all those things. Even the motors, the traditional motors which are used in the industry, those were industrial motors. So now we require something which is called as a traction motor. So if you realize that the motors which are used in the industry, those motors are the way in which they are designed is they have to be operational for the continuous amount of time, or maybe for some amount of time, or they are designed in such a way that their operation is intermittent. But when you talk about the traction motor, you will require a motor which has to be kept on for a longer period of time, because that is how your vehicle is going to run. So typically, if you see, the typical basis of designing a motor is going to change, and that is where the electronics guys is going to come into picture. And I'm sure you all will understand that there are a lot of opportunity for electronics people in this domain. Now, if you will ask me how, so that if I can ask you, do you have MATLAB Simulink in your curriculum anywhere, or do you study MATLAB and Simulink?
In the curriculum, I don't think there is. In addition, some colleges offer few trainings for MATLAB.
Correct. So the reason why there is this MATLAB and Simulink trainings which are happening is because all these vehicles, before they come onto the road, we need to test them. So there is something which is called as a software in loop. So SIL testing and hardware in loop, HIL testing. So software in loop and hardware in loop. So if you see the product life cycle, these two terms, you hear about these terms. Even if you see the job descriptions or JDs of different companies, you will see that they will want someone who has knowledge of MATLAB and who knows how to do this SIL, or software in loop simulation. So there in Simulink, what we do is we model all these components, and we check whether these components work in this particular environment. So I will be able to provide the voltage, I will be able to provide, or I will be able to model the component, rather I will be able to model the entire EV into this MATLAB and Simulink. And that is where I'm going to model the entire plant, and I'm going to see the characteristics. I'm going to calculate the range, I'm going to calculate the SOC, I'm going to calculate so many parameters, and from that I will understand whether my vehicle is really going to work or no. So that is how people can perceive this field. So this is the future, and trust me, by 2030, majority of the automobile OEMs are, either they will be having minimum one or two products, which are based on this electric vehicle architecture. So tremendous opportunities are going to be there for electrical electronics people. I hope the question has got the relevant answer.
Yes, it does. It did. Okay. Any other questions from the participant side? Okay, then I think we are good to wind up. Yeah, thank you so much for joining Amey and Ayush. Yeah, from the entire team of Kerala Section and young professionals, we extend a very hearty thanks to the entire DIY Guru team for even being the sponsors, one of the sponsors for the STEP event. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I really think that whatever you all have imparted into us, from the basics of electric vehicle into the opportunities, where it is and how it is and all. So it was a really good session to attend, and I really hope this recording reaches a wider audience and it could be really helpful for the recent graduates. So thank you so much, Amey. Thank you for sharing your wonderful time with us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I hope I was able to impart, or at least some of you guys will want to go into this section.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you
It
for giving
was.
the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. There's another session going in parallel right now, opportunities in Germany for engineering graduates. So if you wish, you can attend that session. It is in the Zoom that's going right now. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining.